The NCAA tournament has started. Do you want to cut out the suspense and know who's going to win? Because Jimmy and I are going to tell you.
Are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, I have the Alabama Crimson Tide winning the national championship when it comes to the NCAA tournament for 2023. Do you feel the same?
I'm going to worry that we're going to lose to Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I mean,
your way is probably better.
It's not that I don't believe Alabama can win it. Of course I do. Because, hey, let's just be logical here. Going into the NCAA tournament, Alabama's the best team in the country. This is certified. This isn't just Alabama fans. This isn't just SEC bias. The selection committee made Alabama the number one overall seed. Everyone has Bama at number one. I would say a majority of experts are probably picking Alabama. I mean, if you added up all the experts and Alabama's a favorite for a reason. I understand that. I do not believe Alabama's overrated. I do not believe there's a team Alabama can't beat. I'm just, as a person immersed in the history of Alabama basketball, I'm just a little nervous being so confident that something great's going to happen in the NCAA tournament, because Alabama's had teams that should have gone beyond the Sweet 16 and didn't. Alabama's had teams that should have reached the Sweet 16 and didn't. Alabama's had a couple of teams that were probably, arguably, Final Four worthy, maybe. But you always end up almost a round short, and so I don't know. I'm just taking it one game at a time. I'm going to worry about Corpus Christi until it's over.
Yeah. Yes, I accidentally muted myself again while I was trying to unmute. Okay, let me
Why
throw
is it
this
still
out
funny?
I don't know. It is still funny though. But I bought a new webcam today. I'm hoping I look a little better. Jimmy looks like he is in the middle of getting in the quantum leap portal, but we've caught him just in time. I don't know what the heck's going on with him, but
traveling. I'm literally traveling today and had to pull over in a parking lot and set up the laptop, and the sun is at a unique spot, and there's only so many places you can set up the laptop in the car, and so it's a little makeshift today, but hey, it's happening.
Okay. So last night I was doing a show, the show I do on Tuesday nights, Sports Blitz Live, and an Auburn fan called in. And he said, "Luke, I got bad news for you." And I said, "Okay, what is that?" He said, "Alabama's not making the Final Four." And I said, "Well, I've been alive for 50 years and they've never made it. I'm still here. I'll be okay." But that's not necessarily bad news. Yes, it's bad news in that I want to make it, but it's not something that I'm not used to. So however, Jimmy, I have decided to go gumptastic and just go ahead and pick Alabama to win it, because frankly, here's the deal. My theory is, or my reasoning, not my theory. My reasoning is I kept looking for somebody else to win it. I kept looking at everybody else. I mean, I kept looking at Houston. Well, Houston's, we don't know how Marcus Sasser is. They got to play Auburn probably in Birmingham. That's not going to be an easy task. I looked at Purdue. Purdue hadn't been playing great. They almost let Penn State come back and beat them. I know they ended up winning the conference tournament and the title, but they certainly have some weaknesses. I looked at UCLA. They've got one of their better players injured. Gonzaga, they certainly have not been Gonzaga we know and love. Kansas has all kind of problems, and their coach has got health problems. Arizona, they lost to Arizona State at home. I know it was on a heave that really changed the whole complexity or the complexion of the NCAA tournament bracket. But in the end, I said, why not Alabama? I mean, it's not like there's a UNLV from the early 90s in here. So That's what I'm going with. I couldn't find anybody else that I thought, okay, this team is who I really think is the favorite. I kept coming back to taking the crimson glasses off as best as possible. I think Alabama is the best team in this tournament. Now, history tells us they won't win it. So I'm going against history, which is always dangerous. But I really believe Alabama is the best team in this tournament. I've got Alabama and Gonzaga in a rematch, and Alabama winning it this time in a high-scoring affair.
Alabama Gonzaga, interesting.
How about you?
I have in the championship game. I have Texas beating Arizona. I went with, and I agree with everything you said. By the way, there's not a juggernaut team out there. I had no number one seeds in my Final Four, and that's largely a response to the fact there's just not, other than maybe Alabama, there's not a obvious best team. I just sort of went with a hot team who I think is the best team right now from the best conference. I think the Big 12 is unquestionably, in my mind, the best conference this year. I sort of gave great deference to Big 12 teams in my bracket. So I have Texas beating Arizona, and I had Alabama losing to Arizona in the Elite Eight, which would tie the best Alabama's ever gotten. But I had Alabama losing to Arizona, and then Arizona losing to Texas in the finale. But I say that out of, hey, like I said yesterday in a piece that Clint Lamb asked me to write with him, hey, I'm using some psychological reverse psychology here for myself. I don't want to expect to win and then be crushed. So that's a big part of my pick. It has nothing to do with the matchup or me saying Alabama's not good enough. It more has to do with, is that really possible that Alabama could win the national championship? Because I've never really thought it something that could or would happen, but hey, are they capable? There's no question they're capable.
Well, and here's the thing. It's not just Alabama's never won it before. It's Alabama's never won it before, and there is this swirling media-driven narrative controversy that is surrounding the team. So it almost feels like not only have we never won it before, so history is against us, but the nation is against Alabama because the nation is not interested in reading anything past Brandon Miller. Somebody ended up dying. They go from point A to point Z and forget the rest of the alphabet in there. And so that's it. And so everybody's sort of killing Alabama for lack of whatever they think should have happened. And
right.
So everything's against Alabama, it feels like, which is another reason I'm picking them. And, that's just me. Jimmy, let me tell everybody about FanDuel. You can get that no sweat first bet up to $1,000. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. You'll love it. It's the best app to have during the NCAA tournament. It is absolutely awesome. That's bonus bets back if you don't win with that no sweat first bet up to $1,000. FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon. You can take anything you want. The NBA season just passed the midway point, and they got all kind of stuff going on. But really, the NCAA tournament is what everybody's talking about right now. You can bet on the XFL if you want to. That mother's going on right now. Go get you some XFL at FanDuel.com/lockedon, and you can go there and learn more about it. Download the app. It's super easy, fun to navigate, fun to mess around with. You can do all these parlays and teases. And I used to do something called the turn. I don't know if anybody does that anymore. I checked out if they have it because it's one of the worst bets in American history. But so they probably don't do it. But go check out FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon. You'll absolutely love this app. So much fun. You want to put a little bit down on these NCAA tournament games. So go get you some at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Also wanted you to tell everybody, check out Locked On College Basketball. They got everything over there right now you could possibly want. They got the tournament covered 8 ways to Sunday. So go check out Locked On College Basketball. Jimmy, I want to give a shout out to William Swords. He's a fan of the show. Right. He sent me a pair of coasters. One, oh God, I'm doing it opposite. Okay, so 2 Alabama coasters, two Philadelphia Eagles coasters. You say, hey, Luke, why Philadelphia Eagles coasters? Because my son is a big Eagles fan. I've talked about it on this program before. And he made these coasters himself, and I truly appreciate that. And it was very kind of him. And he just did it because he likes the podcast. And, man, I truly appreciate it. And I said, in Nashville this past weekend, I had several people come up to me and talk about it. Even a Missouri fan came up to me and said he watches this. So I can't thank you guys enough. It means a ton to Jimmy and me. And this has been I hate to sound like a bridesmaid giving a toast, but what a journey this has been. I always hate it when bridesmaids do that. They're like, I've enjoyed watching you two on your journey. No, you didn't watch them on a journey. They got drunk. They hooked up. He might have knocked her up, and now they're getting married. That's not a journey. That's a modest mistake.
There was a romantic proposal in the shadows of a failed pregnancy test.
Oh, wow. Look at the big brain on Jimmy. Jimmy, let's talk. We can talk some more basketball.
So I'm eligible for hire if anybody wants a good wedding toast.
So we can talk some more basketball, but I think we'll do that tomorrow because we'll have a podcast tomorrow morning, I'm sure, before the Bama game gets tipped off. Instead, I wanted to talk a little bit NFL free agency in terms of Alabama alums. Jarran Reed's back with the Seahawks, where he spent the first 5 years of his career, and he's been 2 or 3 years in Green Bay, and now he's going back to the Seahawks. How about Jarran Reed being in the league for a long time? It's not like I'm surprised that he's in the league this long because he was awesome at Alabama, and we knew he was good. But, God, it doesn't feel like Jarran Reed's been gone that long. Dalvin Tomlinson, he just signed a $57 million deal for 4 years with the Cleveland Browns. Now, he probably had to get an extra $10 million because he's like, I'm going to Cleveland. Daron Payne, he gets $90 million. I mean, that is Dr. Evil-esque money. I mean, I think it's the most money for a defensive lineman outside of Aaron, what's his name from the Rams?
Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald. Why couldn't I remember that? Maybe because it's two first names. I'm never good remembering people with two first names. But anyway, and then Bradley Bozeman gets a nice contract to stay with the Panthers. How about this? The Panthers could have Bryce Young taking snaps from Bradley Bozeman.
That would be cool. Also, trade rumors involving Jerry Jeudy. I think we're all hoping he goes to the Patriots. Just similarly, the Patriots need a wide receiver, and Mac Jones needs a bammer to throw the ball to. But no, it's fun. When you got 70 guys in the NFL, 70, which I think was the count at the end of last season, there's going to be a lot of fun matchups out there and a lot of multiple Alabama guys on one team. And, of course, with free agency, now they're all shuffling around to different teams. But always, it's good for the program. Always really happy for these guys. Some of them came from very little and learned so much at Alabama and put in the hard work, and to see it pay off like that, literally, that's awesome. And hey, the new batch of Alabama Crimson Tide football players will hit the field literally 5 days from right now, and I'm super excited. A lot of new names. I was going over the lineup with someone yesterday, and it really just struck me about, wow, there really is a lot of new names, not for us and not for the listeners of the show so much, but for the casuals, as Josh Pate calls them. The Alabama fans that are only football fans during the season, they really are going to need a roster for next fall, because they're going to be like, who is that? Who is that? There will be a lot of new names, especially to that group.
Is it a little weird to you? It just dawned on me. Like, I've been paying so much more attention to basketball recently that maybe some of my football keeping up with has fallen off. And I know that's probably not the same for you because you work for On3 and QB Country and all that. But I mean, like, it's sort of weird. I'm so used to being sort of knee deep in football again at this point, and I'm only ankle deep right now because I got so much basketball stuff going on.
Well, it's unusual. First of all, Alabama's not in the NCAA tournament every year. There's a long time where it was kind of incredibly unusual for Alabama to be in the tournament at all. So there is definitely more depth to this basketball season. It's going to extend into spring practice, hopefully. That's different. And I also this, I mean, we haven't been told yet officially, but we assume the media is not going to be allowed to see any of spring practice, which means another, practice period where we have to hunt for information about practice and what's going on at practice. So that dampers it a bit too, I think, for the fans who won't have as much information as maybe you once did. But hey, I'm certainly into it. I'm into it to this point that all that's happening Saturday could be an Alabama second round game against a good team, Maryland or West Virginia, for the right to go to the Sweet 16, all the other college basketball games, SEC gymnastics championships for Saturday, Alabama basketball, Alabama baseball, Alabama softball. This all happens on Saturday. But there's also an event that I'm going to look into and get some information on, and that is this Saturday. I'm pretty sure Missouri has its spring football game. So I'm into football enough to even be interested in the fact that Missouri is having their spring game, and I want to know what happens in it.
I'm going to look up what is it, LSUfootball.net, and see. Yes, the spring game for Missouri. It is wow. It's like Missouri said, you don't want to watch this, and we know it. So let's do it on March 18th in the second round of the NCAA tournament at 11 o'clock in the morning. Sweet Mother Earth. I can't imagine. I mean, I guess in True TV is unavailable, so I guess it'll be on Bravo. I mean, why on earth would you do your spring game then? Anyway,
it's not even on SE. It's in terms of finding it on television, it's probably like a radio alternate. It's not even on your radio station. It's like radio alternate, radio streaming, but streaming only. No,
it says it's on. It says it's on SEC Network Plus Video / $ESPN Plus Video. I mean, I think that's the web address of where you find it. I don't even think those are the networks.
That's ESPN saying, if you send us $1,000, we'll figure out how to get video to you of this. But send us $1,000. We'll figure. I'm just saying that I'm into football to the extent that I even know Missouri's spring game is Saturday, and I'm vaguely interested in reading about it after the fact. How's that?
That is a diehard. Somebody who is moderately, vaguely interested in an ambiguous, non-important spring game from a team that has no chance to do anything this upcoming year.
Missouri is pretty good. Missouri is actually pretty good on defense again. They're under the radar good every year, and they're like one of these. It's the craziest thing to say, but I bet Missouri right now is like the best. They're annually the best 6-6 team in the country. Annually, the best 6-6. Hey, they pushed Georgia last year.
Hang the banner. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, how about a surprise when it comes to spring games that will be broadcasted? So, Jimmy, I mean, maybe a little bit of the shine is off Alabama's program, not from our point of view, obviously. I mean, we run Locked On Bama. But nationally, I think some of the shine is off in terms of maybe everybody's not quite as concerned about what we have going on all the time anymore. I think that's fair to say. Georgia's won back-to-back national championships. And now Deion Sanders has moved over to Colorado, and ESPN will broadcast their spring game, not Alabama's spring game or not Georgia's spring game or not Penn State's or Ohio State's or USC's or anybody like that. They're going to do Colorado, who frankly is probably going to struggle to have a winning record next year. They've got a tough schedule, but I get it. And again, you have said this multiple times, and I'm going to agree with you. At first I disagreed, and now I totally agree. I believe Hugh Freeze is probably a pretty good coach. I believe Hugh Freeze could be a very good hire for Auburn. I think 9-pound, 3-ounce baby Jesus, they didn't hire Deion Sanders.
Yeah, I felt that way, but now I'm really sure I was right about that, in the sense that what Deion has done for Colorado is unbelievable. And in terms of, hey, and you can not like Deion, that's fine. I'm not asking anybody to like or have him be your second favorite coach. I'm just saying Colorado has been a dead Power 5 program, maybe the deadest over 10 or 12 seasons. They're not good. They're not good in a bad league. They have no players, no significant win. When's the last time you can think that Colorado won a big game? And then they hired Deion Sanders, and then they're immediately in the thick of things for 5 stars. Cormani McClain. I mean, their recruiting class in 2024, I'm telling everybody right now, it will be national top 10. At Colorado, no facilities, no in-state players, no recent success, and they're going to sign a top 10 class. And that's Deion. And then the power of Deion gets ESPN in town. Remember what a big deal it was for Alabama, Luke, when Nick Saban got 92,000 Alabama fans to a spring game back before anybody went to spring games. Alabama sort of invented the spring game under Nick Saban, and how that launched recruiting. Now Deion's got Colorado's spring game on ESPN, and no one else is. Not Georgia, not Alabama, not USC. No, it's Colorado. So imagine Deion Sanders at Auburn, that actually has facilities, that is surrounded by good talent, that has the history of a national championship, just 13 years ago, and beating Alabama. And if Deion was at Auburn, he would be doing even better than what he's doing at Colorado. So we're just very fortunate that the powers that be at Auburn have ever decided, hey, Hugh Freeze is our guy. And I agree with you, Luke. Hugh was a good hire in terms of he's a good football coach, and he's going to do fine at Auburn. But Deion, he would have been the one that would have recruited on a near equal basis with Saban. I believe that. If you can sign a top 10 class at Colorado, you'd be signing an Alabama, Georgia level class if you're in the SEC.
And again, I don't think Jimmy nor I is saying, okay, Deion Sanders is the best X's and O's guy in the world. I don't think anybody knows the answer to that. He's only been coaching at Jackson State, and he's had a lot more talent than everybody else. So I don't think it's fair to make a judgment on his actual coaching abilities. But I think Nick Saban has taught us all, and Kirby Smart has, and every coaches at Ohio State have, and coaches at USC have, that if you don't have the horses, it doesn't matter. Bill Snyder was a fantastic coach at Kansas State, and he didn't sniff a national championship. Now, there was an opportunity where he could have played for one, I guess, so I shouldn't say that, when Texas A&M beat him in the conference championship game back when they were both in the Big 12. But that's my point, is that the one time they may have had a shot, Texas A&M, which clearly had more talent on that particular team, was able to beat them, because eventually talent's going to overwhelm you. You can't X's and O's everybody all the time. You do need a combination of it. It is a recipe, not a single ingredient. But if you don't have the players, it's like missing the hamburger for the hamburger helper. I mean, I know that stuff tastes great just by itself, Clark, but if you don't have the hamburger, it's you can't really do much with it. So
yeah, it's just helper. It's just helper.
Yeah, you just got helper. Yeah.
What do you want for dinner? How about helper and some beans? I mean, is that sounds like a prison thing?
All right, buddy. Let's call it a day. We will be back tomorrow before the first Alabama game. Actually, Maryland, West Virginia is the first game of the day. So I can't wait to have that on my screen while I'm sitting here at work. And then hopefully a lot of you are going, and hopefully a lot of you are going to be pulling like heck for the Alabama Crimson Tide tomorrow about 1:45. So until tomorrow, we appreciate you guys. Be sure to subscribe, and roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.